The opinions expressed in the following are those of its participants and do not necessarily reflect those of the producers and the Six Talk Podcast Network. Also, the following contains mature material and mild language, which may not be suitable for all audiences. Discretion is advised.
This is the Anime Roundtable Canada, presented by Anime North on this Saturday evening, May the 27th, 2023. You can contact us on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok at Anime Roundtable, animeroundtable@gmail.com, or animeroundtable.com. So here we go with our second recording from the 2023 edition of Anime North. We are at the Delta Hotel in the Halton Room beside the staff lounge. And to the listeners out there who are hearing this, the only reason you will hear other voices or other noise or any sort of crowd noise in the next little bit is probably because we're beside the staff lounge room and people are passing by to get something to eat.
I thought you were going to say because we had an audience tonight.
Yeah, okay. Okay, so
you're invalidating the two people that are in this room right now, James, that are the audience.
yeah. Well,
I could tell you the fact that you
How
said
dare
from
you,
the
James.
Delta, and this has been so many names for this hotel, right? But they've never actually changed the names of the rooms, which is kind of funny in my mind when I was
That's
thinking
pretty
about
cool. I like that.
because we've been the Doubletree International Plaza, Delta by Marriott, I guess. And then all the rooms have still been the same, even though we've seen things come and go, right? Like I saw the Chinese restaurant is now like, I guess an event area, they're saying.
Okay, I didn't look. I know in one year it was like storage for luggage.
See, I'm sure I'm not the only one who thinks like this, but whenever I go to a place for the first time, or it's the first time I know of a place, it's always going to be called that place even after a name change. So the Rogers Center will always be the Sky Dome. And what is that? What was the amphitheater called now? Is it like, who sponsors that
Budweiser
now?
Stage.
Is it Budweiser? It's always going to be the Molson Amphitheater for me. Like, or the Sony Center, which I know is not Sony anymore, but I know it was not Sony from the beginning. Like, I don't know what it used to be called.
Hummingbird
Hummingbird
Center
Center.
and then
It was
the
the
O'Keefe
Hummingbird,
Center one year.
Okay, I was too young for those names.
I'm pretty sure, I'm pretty sure locals still refer to the Mattamy Athletic Center as Maple Leaf Gardens on
Yep.
top of that. So,
Yep.
okay. First of all, I have to also give an apology to the listeners out there or anybody who tried to get the first episode we did last night, the Space Heater, because I was so sleepy that I did finish up doing the episode and encoding it. It's just that I uploaded the wrong file initially. It was the Space Heater that Kevin and I did at the beginning of the month that went in place for the time I was asleep. And then Mo essentially woke me up and told me, "Oh, you put up the wrong file. It sounds like another episode." And then I realized, oh, wait. Okay. Apparently, so I apologize to the 7 people who have downloaded that episode already.
Maybe Mo downloaded it 7 times. We don't know.
He had to be sure.
Well, I mean, he hasn't. It's not as if he listened to the episode. He admitted that last night. So, just quickly, or once around the table, it's the other regulars. So James Austin joins us again. Kevin Ing. He survived the Noma Noichi last night.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know if we want to go through that story right now because it might take too long.
We don't have to go through all of that story because
Not
there's
yet.
parts of it that I would rather not tell.
Cool.
And have it be recorded.
And Amy Lynn Gregg. Good to see everyone as always.
Yep.
Okay.
It is.
We're like tradition. Day 2 impressions. So, okay, let's start with some of the news from.
I was going to say,
day
what
two.
about day one impressions for both of them? Maybe.
Well, I mean,
too,
that'll compile into their impressions, I guess, as a whole for the convention. Just a couple of little bits of news from Anime North as we start to wind down day number 2 here. Word came out this morning that all the passes are now sold out for the entire weekend, whether it's weekend passes or single day passes, including Sunday. I don't recall a situation like that.
Last year.
It was last year?
Last year
I
it
thought
happened,
after
yeah.
all the situations from last year, they just recognized the Saturday purchases into Sunday.
But this was not the case before the pandemic. So Saturday would sell out, and maybe the odd year, the weekend pass would sell out, but you would never see Friday or Sunday sell out.
And like people would come just for Sunday to try to get like the last minute deals. Like I remember sometimes people even without passes, like
They were able to sneak in?
like 30 minutes before closing,
They
they'd
were
have
able.
staff,
They would sneak in.
Yeah.
It-
Oh, really? Oh.
Yeah. Again, like, what are you
take
going to get
notes-
done
take
at
notes,
30
Kevin.
minutes?
Yeah, well, take note, Kevin, okay?
What are you inferring, Mike?
We're all wearing
Well-
passes. So I
Well, we
don't-
are all wearing passes. Yeah. Okay, I'll go with my day 2 impressions a bit later on. I mean, towards the end of this. So, James, day 2 impressions. Kevin, Amy, overall impressions so far. Anything that stuck out? Panels you enjoyed? What have you? Where do you? Any one of you can start.
Okay,
So, if you want to rehash any one detail from the Nomanoichi at this point, by all
Choose
means.
wisely.
So, to the guy who I swiped the Triage X set that he wanted, I'm sorry, not sorry. So, you know what? I highly doubt this guy will ever listen. So, I was, I was picking up my holds at 7:45 p.m. because,
The Nomanoichi began at 7.
at 7, and me having ADHD, I medically have it. I don't just say that I have it. I was late, or not, and later than I wanted to be, to go and set up. Didn't really set up, so I just went to grab my holds before going back to my table. A guy had Triage X volumes 1 through 12, and those who don't know, Triage X volumes 4, 5, and 7 are chronically hard to find and can go for like $100 a piece on eBay.
So you're saying I should sell all that now, Kevin, and give it to you for like $1,000 or something?
Yeah, I
don't know.
sold. I had a set of like 1 through 22 that I sold for like almost $1,000. But anyway,
I would have thought they would have done more printings of that since the same guy was a part of the team that did High School of the Dead.
they've reprinted volumes 1 and 2, and they've reprinted volume 8 and 11. But for whatever reason, they haven't gone around to 4, 5, and 7.
Well, you did say it's always those random volumes, right, that are the problem for any series.
So I have a stray volume 11. So, negotiated a set. I negotiated to buy 1 to 10 off of the guy. And as I was buying them, the seller was saying, "Oh yeah, there was another guy who was interested in the set." And in my mind, I'm like, "Well, his loss." And so, I bought my set and then eventually finished my holds, picking up my holds and whatever. Finally went back to my table again to actually put out more stuff to sell, because then Mike had to help me sell my holds.
Yeah, because he had to go off, and we had tables beside
And
each other.
I am very appreciative of you helping me,
I
Mike.
didn't screw anything up, did I?
I don't believe you did.
Did you count your money?
I've counted some of it, not all of it.
Okay.
But
I guess last words. Right?
so later on in the evening, a guy comes. He asked me if I have any Triage X for sale, and I said no, because I'm not technically lying, because it was not for sale at the moment.
you just had it.
And he's like, "Yeah, I saw a guy that had a set of Triage X, but then when I went back, it was gone." And I was like, "Oh, that sucks. Yeah, that happens sometimes." And I did not have the heart to tell him that it was me who bought it. But overall, Nominoichi was pretty hectic but fun because I've always enjoyed selling stuff. I think for me, it's kind of like that. It gives me that dopamine rush that like people with ADHD desperately crave, and did pretty okay. Helped some friends sell stuff too.
Yes.
So I have a friend who's gonna get $150 because I helped sell his copy of Fire Emblem for the Wii.
Oh.
I think it's Radiant Dawn.
Yeah, that I know that one, and then the GameCube one, hard to
GameCube.
find, stuff like that. They've went up on price.
Yeah, I had that one too. Like,
I
help
went
him
to the
sell, but-
dealer's room and found another random game I've been looking for years, and then I saw the price, and I'm like, nah, I'm fine with the digital version.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, I had a girl just straight up buy it, no questions asked. So messaged my friend, and he was appreciative.
Yes.
Helped another friend sell his Steam Deck dock, and then I helped an old coworker get rid of some of her manga.
So out of interest, you said the Steam Deck dock. So was that the official one? One of the official ones? Or
No, I think it's a third-party one.
Okay,
It's a
because
JSOX one.
I knew that the official ones, they're expensive. So I was
It's a
wondering.
JSOX one. It's not an
Okay.
official one. I'm assuming it's a third party. But that was all I really did on Friday because by the time I finally got back to you guys had finished.
Yes. Thanks for coming, by the way.
And then heard some interesting talk between you and other staff that I'm not going to divulge here
It was interesting. I will say
Yeah.
that much. I will say it that much.
because we are the official podcast of Anime North, so we can only air so much dirty laundry, which means we don't.
Nope. That's
day one.
That's day one. Anything from day two you would like to mention at this point?
I didn't come till 7:45
Okay.
p.m.
So you didn't check out anything. You didn't get a chance.
I went to the concert. I went to see Survive Said the Prophet.
There was a long line. I think I saw. I thought I saw a long line for
So
that.
how was the concert?
So I missed the first 25 minutes, which means I missed the Banana Fish song, which was a bit of a disappointment. But prior to me coming to the con, I went to a friend's birthday gathering and then wanted to get decent food before coming here. So I got sashimi at like a place near my friend's that's good. But then I kind of felt like I was going to get a headache and I didn't want to go to a store just to buy more aspirin when I already had 2 almost full containers of aspirin at home for the same reasons. So then
Yeah,
I was
carry
like,
it with you, please.
So I thought I'm just gonna go home and eat and like take some aspirin and then head over. And if whatever I miss, so be it.
And you're at peace with that.
Yeah, I'm at peace with it.
You got to see the band regardless.
Yeah, I saw like the second half of the concert.
Yeah.
So
Well,
no,
was it full? Or reasonably full?
I'd say like half full. They used all of Hall C, which is the Nominoichi area, but like
I saw a good sized lineup.
like it's still like a
if I
good
remember.
crowd. I'd say it was a good sized crowd regardless. And they did perform their new single that they did for the new season of Vinland Saga.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
the
And-
current one that's airing. Yeah,
And it's the first time they performed it live.
really,
Yeah. Really?
interesting.
The single only came out a week and a half ago.
And
Still.
yeah, and it's almost finished up. But yeah, it was only like halfway through the season, so it must have been like just a month or whatever ago that it actually started showing up.
Yeah. And I also missed the Code Geass song that they did for the movies. But no, good show overall. The lead singer does speak English because he lived in the States for quite a while. So so language barrier is not an issue. In terms of how it was ran, they should have done bag checks at the door because they made me dump my water, which is understandable because they don't want people sneaking in alcohol.
Right.
And then
That's a common thing, though.
they didn't tell me to check my bag, so I walked in with my bag. But then, like towards the end, they asked me to and other people to like, oh, you need to go check your bag. And I was like, okay, fine. And then I get to near the front of the line, and then they actually told us, oh, you know what? Never mind. The show's almost over anyway. And I thought, yeah. And the band didn't bring as much merch as they should have, I guess, because it sold out pretty quickly. So my friend could not get anything. Whatever. But so went to that, and then I checked out some of Totally Lame Anime After Dark, courtesy of Neil Nailman, for about an hour or so before I came here, and that's always a treat.
Well, anything that group does.
Yeah.
There's Nadelman, Tool, Merrill.
Yeah, like I always stress that one of Anime North's greatest strengths is in its paneling, and because, you know, Anime North is run by what the new kids call old taku, and they know a lot of the old taku personalities because you guys see they're considered that as such now. So they know Mike Toole, they know Dave Merrill.
If we're known, I'd probably be in that realm too.
Yep,
Let's be honest.
And Neil Nailman comes almost every year, and also as a result, we do get other like good panelists and guest speakers that come every so often. So like sometimes Helen McCarthy comes, or sometimes, what's his name? I hate that I forget his name because
Fred Schott?
Well, Fred
Fred
Schott
Schott
came
came
one
I
year.
wasn't thinking of Fred Schott. I'm thinking of the man who's been involved with Yamato all these years.
Oh.
I hate that I forget his name
Steve
right now.
Bennett? Can't be Steve
No,
Bennett.
I need to look it up.
Okay.
He runs the R Star Blazers fan site, but
Okay.
anyway,
And with Matsumoto, of course, passing away earlier this year.
like
So-
we tend, because you know a lot of those people are connected on Twitter and such, so you know there's always a better likelihood that some of them will come. Like, I think it's her name, Samantha Ferreira, was supposed to come.
Yes.
Who
Correct.
she runs Anime
Anime
Herald,
Herald.
and she's like the resident Soccer Wars fan on the internet. But yeah, she couldn't make it. But like, it's always cool to see those kinds of guests come, because then you know that like, oh yeah, I recognize that person, and those people know their stuff, and they always have something to say.
Okay. Well, it's, as I said, you're right. It's old taku. Would you consider that a derogatory term?
I don't think so.
If I'm close to that, I wouldn't be offended.
No more than otaku is in general.
Okay.
It's like I can't be offended if I've never heard of it.
That too. Amy.
So it's interesting to see the contrast from last year, right? I had a bit of a different perspective of last year, and I recognize sort of the privilege there if I had a staff badge. So I didn't experience the 3 or 4 hour lines. Also, it's, May instead of July. But general impressions from like the operation seems like it's much smoother, and I think you probably discussed that yesterday at least a little bit. But everything, all the buildings, like it seems very busy, but everything is flowing so much better in general. I will say the artist alley area, it is, I think, too cramped. I think they need to use some of the extra space next to the BattleBots area.
I did notice that when I
And
walked through.
Just at least a little bit more, and it's such a contrast to the sort of corporate dealer's room with incredibly wide aisles. You get some bottlenecks every so often, but it's never, it never feels claustrophobic. It never feels difficult to access any of the booths or retailers. But for the artist alley, it's so hard to, see things, unfortunately. But yeah, aside from that, some really nice panels with Jesse Betteridge's panel yesterday with the stolen music in anime. There's some sound issues, but a very good panel.
I saw some of the when he was here 3 years ago. I think it was 3 years ago now. I'm trying to remember exactly when. Yeah, I think it was 3 years ago. I could start to see some of the ideas for that panel start to bubble with some of the conversations I saw he had.
And then today, the first panel I went to was also his, the Canada Heritage Minute.
This is so.
Yeah, moments. Yeah, he's done that one before.
He's done
was
it, but this
really
is
good.
If there's one guy, I know, and I know, I talked with Jesse
That is
earlier.
so Jesse.
But this is so Jesse. If there's one guy who could do this concept, the exact concept you have just brought up, this is up Jesse Betterich's
and he covers different aspects of Canada-Japan interactions, which I found really good. It wasn't just, here's where Canada was featured in anime. He covered Anne of Green Gables and all the connections there, and showed clips of, I think, one of the animation directors going to PEI, which was, very funny and cute.
Any Ginman Kaleidoscope footage?
Which one's that?
Ginman Kaleidoscope is an anime from the mid-2000s about like an ice skater.
I don't think so.
Oh.
But obviously the Real Canadian Superstore moment.
Obviously, yeah.
He's a big fan of
He
that
was a fan of that.
particular-
Well, I mean, it's been parodied by Meryl too in the during Anime Hell.
Yeah.
Because I remember he did the online version of that, showed that commercial, and then
The
he
No
and then he
Frills one,
started
yeah, there's the-
holding, and then he started waving Loblaws bags right after.
Yeah.
So
Like even though I always like to shit on Gil and Weston, whoever, like the marketing team for the No Frills division really do need to be better rewarded for their efforts. They do put out some good marketing stuff.
it's interesting. Like it certainly is attention grabbing.
But the panel also talked about different anime that were, heavily featured in French-speaking Canada, and then, transitioning into talking about, the influence of YTV and Teletoon, and then ending with, one of my favorites of Cyber 6, and how, impactful and a great just example of like international collaboration Cyber 6 was, and sort of the tragedy of its second half being canceled due to failing in America, even though it was popular in Canada.
The end of that show was just so heartbreaking because it just ends on a massive cliffhanger, and you don't know what happens next unless you like actively seek out those English scanlations of the comics.
Yeah, the
Those are
Argentine comic,
those are like, I think he described it in the panel as sleazy comics.
Yeah.
I do think that the sanitization of Cyber 6 was a very good thing, for multiple reasons. Like, not even just the Nazi stuff, but like the very like middling or fluctuating depictions of sex workers. There's some stuff in there that I'm glad that, I mean, obviously they would have cut it for kids, but
Yeah.
it was cut anyways. And then right after was a panel by Dave Merrill about comic creators in the West taking from Japanese sources, which was fairly good. And then an Anime X Law panel right before this, which was excellent. They covered 3 cases, one being Spy Family, so talking about sort of family law, contract law with Madoka, and then Konosuba for, I guess, liability, essentially.
Or tort, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And then the bigger panels were interesting, as always. Like Anime Hell, it's kind of perennial at this point. The quality's been maintained, I feel. Lots of nice lost media, which Jesse had a great lost media of an advertisement for .hack sign that has been lost. But some nice lost media at Anime Hell as well. Particularly, Disney is very strict about certain things going on YouTube, so there were some fun parodies there. When I was lining up for the Anime Law panel, the Disney karaoke fills up the plaza rooms. There's like clearly 400 plus people. Like whatever the capacity of the room is, it fills. And my preferred karaoke is like the Japanese karaoke, like just in a booth, like with like 7 people. Like that's my preferred. Like I don't even like normal bar. So like having 400 people sing "I'll Make a Man Out of You" in unison. Not only like these days, the last 2 years, like is that a threat? But like it's still like I don't understand like the appeal. Like cool, like people obviously like 400 people love it, and they had to turn people away. But I didn't expect that to be what it is. As I've mentioned on this podcast before, I love Anime North. The atmosphere has been retained. I mean, it was retained last year as well, but even more so this year. It feels like Anime North again. And last year it really did as well, but seeing the people walk between the different hotels and do the photo shoots and just all the different like happenstance things. A random airport shuttle gave me a ride to the area today because I'm up at the Marriott. So he just stops and he's like, "Get in. Don't be afraid." Some other people.
Sure, get into a bus with a stranger. Sure.
And the perennial things like the Japanese. Is it Ginza? The name of it? Gin something.
Ginkgo?
Ginkgo.
Yeah,
the restaurant?
The Ginkgo restaurant here, yeah.
Prices are up there, but like it's like even that, like there's little bits of nostalgia that, I'm happy that Anime North is retained.
I always liked their mediocre takoyaki, I gotta say. Like, it's just something... There's just something, yeah, like...
I like their mediocre gyoza. Like, there's
it's
lots.
Like, it just hits the spot. Like, yes, this is what
like,
I want.
That's comfort food. That is comfort
really
food,
is,
probably.
in a way.
For this convention.
Those rice balls are $5 now. God damn.
Yeah, that's...
It's...
And I say that in a lovingly way, by the way. No offense to Ginkgo.
The thing about Ginkgos, I know it holds a lot of respect in the Japanese community here in Toronto because of the guy who runs it. And from like, he's been profiled on BlogTO. I know he's a kendo master. We have mutual friends who are one of his students, actually.
Oh, cool.
So it's Nobi.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, Nobi's one of his students.
Fellow Kagoshima alum from our time teaching in Japan. Not nearly the same year,
but yes,
decade removed. But.
Yeah, so I had always wondered over the years how that restaurant had done with Anime North here, and I think we kind of covered it last night to some degree, or maybe it was after we finished recording. There were some years it felt. You just never had the sense it was trying to latch on, but then the stall happened.
Yeah, like the first few years, it was like they never had the outside thing, and it was always this kind of like, just a restaurant there that people could go if they wanted to.
Now it's like embraced it.
Yeah.
And from what I hear, it does a lot of its business during this weekend. It gets a lot of business, and I know that a lot of people are happy to hear that for the place.
And it is like, we joke a little bit about the price, but it is authentic-ish Japanese food. Onigiri is, kind of a standard, but like, you can get bad onigiri and their onigiri is good. Like their gyoza and, toridango, like it's like, it's good food. Lineup can get busy in the midday. But like that's everything. Like the law panel I went to, it was in one of the smaller rooms in this hotel, and you had to line up. I was there 45 minutes early, and people were turned away, right?
Oh, wow.
Versus the bigger rooms like the ones that Jesse Betteridge ran. There were lineups, but there was space, right? Same as Anime Hell. There's a big lineup, but you're not gonna be cut off.
No, well, Anime Hell takes place. It was in the North Building again this year, wasn't it? So
which was a good choice.
It's
because,
always
like it fills up enough. Like it's not like when it was here. The line would be cut. People were there were no space between seats. It still fills that North Building, not to the brim, but enough people are
Yeah,
there.
I remember seeing bits and pieces of it.
Credit to the Anime North staff and volunteers, though. They are managing the lines quite well. I know some people are probably frustrated about the clear the room policy, which has become necessary. But there's some learning curves from new volunteers, of course, as always. But I haven't run into a horrible instance where 20 people cut or things like that. They've done great things with this accessibility this year, where they've have a sticker system on the badge. They are getting people to the front of the line that need to. It's just been great.
Okay. James, do you want to mention anything?
Well, I think they've mentioned everything, and I guess if they want to go and see more panels from the trifecta, or the many people I know tomorrow that Neil Nadelman, Mike Toole, and Jesse Betteridge, they have panels tomorrow. I think Jesse's doing a Sega Saturn panel tomorrow, and I think Mike Toole is doing his usual dubs that Time Forgot. And then I can't remember what Neil Nadelman was doing, but he was doing something tomorrow.
Oh my gosh.
Okay, so
no, the person who I was thinking of
earlier
was Tim Eldred.
Oh yes,
Ah.
that name.
Okay.
Sorry, Tim.
Well, okay. So my day. First of all, my day has a few regrets, only because I missed out on the Studio Orange stuff.
And that was later in the day, I think.
Well,
too.
they had one thing at 1 o'clock,
Yeah,
one thing
around
around
1.
5,
Something like that.
and
yeah.
I got here just before 6. But, and this is part of the another part of the story for me tonight, the parking.
Ugh.
And I look. I lucked out. I have a good pass for the hotel.
Yes, flaunt your free parking pass, Mike.
But you still have to find a parking spot.
Yeah, it would be nice to find a parking spot. I just lucked out.
Okay, so now I have to talk about this.
Okay, I know we're both probably okay. I was about to ask you.
So I got to the con area at 5:50 or so, and I already knew I was likely going to have to park in the back anyway, which I did. Now, whoever was supposed to manage traffic flow didn't block off certain aisleways where there were actually dead ends. Because normally, you should be leaving 2 car spaces worth at the very end free so that cars can cut through to the next lane.
Yes.
And so by the time I got to the very end, it was virtually cut off anyway. So I thought, well, I might as well just park because I'm in a rush. And I'm now lugging all my stuff for the flea market to the con while trying to tell 10 other cars that you have to go back.
This was yesterday.
This was yesterday. And one of those were my friends, actually.
So sorry. Look, I mentioned what it was like there.
I'm also grateful for her spotting me a face mask because I had walked far enough away from my car that I didn't want to go back to get it.
Look. There was a couple instances of that in the Delta lot, just for reference. And I lucked out. I lucked out because somebody was leaving right at the side entrance over there, and I was able to get that spot. And I've been there the entire time. I ain't leaving it. At last check, after nightfall, the parking lot still looks very full. And I'm not totally sure I could have said that in past years.
Oh, yeah. I have now since received intel as to where I can park in the future.
Well, don't
to
share
avoid
it
this
now.
problem.
Do not
No,
share
I'm
it
not
now.
fucking telling this.
Is
I'm
it,
not
on,
putting this on air.
is it on the 401? Didn't have a good hike.
But yeah, I'm not putting that on the record. But reportedly, more and more people are finding out about this spot.
Well,
But I'm not. Yeah, this is not going on the record.
It doesn't matter. Toronto parking enforcement already knows, and they're going to ticket your car.
Whatever.
Oh,
But this is part of the story.
That's like a part-time job for me now, like dodging parking police in Toronto.
Like, this is part of the story, though, today for me. The cars. We just talked, okay, the rest of the weekend is sold out. Is that unprecedented? The way the parking lot, especially at TCC, I do not recall the way that many cars, the way they are parked. I don't know if you know what I'm talking about just yet, but walk along the area, the driveway towards Martin Grove. And I mentioned last night to you, James, and Lawrence, who's here in the room. We do have at least one person in the audience tonight. I don't recall much in the way of parallel parking in that drive up to the exit. And what I saw today was a plus version of that. So you saw people parking on both laneways a lot. Parts that look like that should be drive-ups, people were parking diagonally. You know how you park up against a curb.
Yeah, because you get desperate.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. There was just that. And then you can imagine what people were doing. Like, first of all, people brought up on the Facebook page, it was mentioned how to get, the best way to get into TCC. And people mentioned the Martin Grove entrance, and others reacted as if they had never heard of this entrance, the Martin Grove
there's
entrance.
Another way to get in. Well, but generally the advice is to never turn left from Dixon into the Toronto Congress Center. Yeah, not that little street. Never turn left from that light.
Oh, citywide. Is that what it's called?
What?
Is it citywide, the main intersection?
Is that what it's called? Like the main intersection.
Yeah.
You don't turn.
But
you
even
never
then,
turn left there.
But even then, yesterday there was a huge line that stretched all the way to that Holiday Inn to make that
what
right
you
turn.
do, okay, this I'm willing to share. What you do is you turn right into the gas station and then you loop around into the road. So that way you drive straight into the Congress Center.
Oh, that one. What? It's turn right into what?
Yeah, so
into
you
the
technically
Shell?
drive past the intersection, but you turn right
into
into the Shell. So then you loop around into the
Okay.
street. So you drive straight. I'm amazed people don't think of that. Because I see 20 cars, 15, 20 cars waiting to turn left. I'm like, you guys are suckers. And I just do my loopy thing and it takes a minute tops.
But what I was referring to was coming the other way on Dixon from the 401.
Yeah.
And then that right turn was insane.
Yeah.
That lineup for that right turn
you turn
yesterday
right,
was insane.
right before the intersection where the
Into
Harvey, right before the Harveys, that little street where you go into the Tim Hortons and the Burger King and the Subway and the Swiss Chalet. That's where you should turn into.
And then just cut from the entrance there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Or use Martin Grove.
Well, yeah, but the thing is, they made it sound like Martin Grove was a revelation to some people. There was
because most people don't come from that way.
Yes, well, now people know. And according to Facebook and some of the other replies, there was a brief period today where they closed that off. And if that is true, first of all, it wasn't the case when I went to actually see it, and I walked all the way to see that. It didn't appear to be that way. But if that's true, I just find that it would be a dangerous thing to do, because then it would bottleneck everything into one official entrance or one set basically at the front. And I just found that kind of...
Well, there's also that little side road that runs along the perimeter of the Toronto Congress Center that also is parallel with Highway 27.
Yes.
But then you'd have to be coming southbound from there to really take advantage of that, and not a lot of people do.
Yeah, that's something else. And I don't have the fact. I work in the area, so it's something even people who regularly traverse this area, it's lost on them.
Do you think that it's just a matter of larger attendance numbers, or do you think there's other factors? Do you think, less people are taking TTC due to the pandemic? Do you think that less people could find a hotel this year? Is it just a combination of everything? Because
it could be a hell of a storm.
It does seem unusually busy, as far as car traffic goes.
Well,
it's always bad. 20 years coming here.
And it is 20 years now, so it's worth mentioning.
It's it's never seemed, quite this congested.
Yeah.
Well,
or wide.
Yeah,
And
at the worst, we would just park like beside North,
Yeah.
which was fine. But yeah,
This is different. This
is-
was just different. And I had nice conversations with some of the people walking along, and I even saw like a group of friends having a couple snacks and drinks in the back of a pickup truck parked.
oh yeah, some people like rent U-Hauls and then just like have shit going on in the U-Haul, and people are just hanging around the U-Haul truck.
No, I saw a couple of well, at least one, and I had a nice conversation with a group of friends. So it was like it's still a happy atmosphere. Don't get me wrong on this. This is still a very fun atmosphere.
Like parking is bad when you hit the gravel.
Yes, yes. Well, but I've had that moment too in my in the years I came here during the purgatory years of the podcast. The one thing I like the one thing that I did, and this is the first time I did something like this I could recall in some years, was just soak in the atmosphere, walk around the whole, at least the
good.
TCC grounds, certainly, into the dealer's room, into the artist alley. And I agree with you on the issues with the artist alley because it did feel congested
They
compared to
did give more space to the artists this year, which I do like. They had more like sort of chill space behind their booths.
Oh, I did notice that actually.
So that
I did
is
notice
really
that.
good because
And-
it's been the reverse in many years. So as
And-
much as it's frustrating navigating, I am happy for them.
Okay. Squirrely, I'm sure, will be paying attention to that detail whenever they're listening. So soaked in that, went into the Momiji gallery, took pictures of all the. I was allowed. They said you can take pictures of the kimono, all that were on display. So I did. Realized I was taking them the wrong way because I tried to frame the little panel explanations beside the kimono, and I realized, looking at the pictures afterwards, oops, it's referring to the one next to it.
Oh.
So I had to retake all those pictures, take another 10 minutes. I ran to your friend who was with you on the table last night, by the way, Kevin. So she was there.
Okay.
And then I went into the dealer's room. I did touch base with John Cirabella. So hopefully we'll be able to work something out, and we'll be able to chat with him at some point in the future. I'm not going to say near future, but future nonetheless.
He seemed amenable to it.
Oh yeah, yeah. They're certainly willing to at least chat, and we'll see what works out. It's just busy. It is
No,
busy.
he said he's in the con
He's in
marathon, so
yeah.
to speak. He said he's got to be in another one, A-Con, next week, I think. So he did Anime Central, Anime North, and then A-Con in Dallas.
And I did not realize this looking at their selection. I didn't know that Anime Works has the present rights for Fushigi Yugi.
They still have it?
They were
They do.
selling it. I did not know. How long ago was that?
Not recent.
Some years back?
Yeah.
Before or after the beginning of version 2?
I want to say after version 2 started.
So we're talking
I think.
just like 2018 before or
I think
after.
so. I don't keep up with new anime releases as diligently as I used to, so don't quote me on that.
Okay, because I did not know that, but it also tells you how out of touch I can be at points. So I fully admit that. But it was just interesting to walk around the area, see what's considered cool to sell these days, and yeah, it's changed.
Yeah, it's mostly merch.
It's more, well, that's fine, which is fine.
That's what James was saying last night.
As
Yes,
much.
I did listen to part of the podcast.
Yes, okay. And I passed by the Navido World booth. That's the story behind the Kaguya-sama figure you see standing to the
Oh,
side.
you bought it from them. Okay.
Yeah, because I do like, I've in my time I went around and chatted with the store owners as
So
well.
many figure stores have popped up in the last 2, 3, 4 years.
Mm-hmm.
Like you have Panda, and then you have like Sino Hobby and Markham, and then
Panda is like nearby to me in Mississauga,
yes,
and I know they had a booth here.
and they're also in Uptown, which is like Scarborough, Markham,
Okay, so there's that's
and Argoma as well. It's
Yeah.
also in North York.
Mhm. And it was just nice to touch base. It'd been years since I talked with them.
So
It's
so many places now.
But yeah, it's just I just got to soak that in, watch all the dance parties going on the outside in the parking lot.
Oh, the Otaku Blue, yeah.
Oh, well, not so much Otaku Blue, but there was like some K-pop thing going on where there was a K-pop dance group. So they were just a dance gathering of some sort.
I think they were inside, and then they just, after it was all finished, they moved it outside and started their own thing. So
And yeah,
involved.
and they've gained a bit of a following. I noticed enough that every time that crowd was watching them for like, that was the first thing I passed by. Went out to Martin Grove, went into the dealer's room and Artist Alley 2 times over, or basically went into the dealer's room once, went out to Martin Grove, came back, went into the dealer's room, and I was leaving. They were still there and just about to finish up.
Yeah, K-pop dance groups are, I really respect them because that's a lot of work.
Well, I'll say they were well choreographed.
It's a lot of work for like not that much reward because a lot of it is for the fun of it. You know, and if they really do put in the effort, like they will go to like other like cons, like K-pop cons to like compete, and who knows, you might get scouted by groups, or you might connect with like promoters who you can be like the backup dancers to some of these groups when they come to the States or whatever. Like you never know what can come out of it.
Nothing wrong with with your passions just kind of going that way.
And or you use that like setup to like also just promote your own YouTube channel, because that's what a lot of them do as well.
Mm-hmm. So there's small regrets there. I did run into Jesse. He's hyping up his last panel today, and he was ecstatic with how his Canadian Heritage moment.
Oh yeah, I saw him pop by. Yeah,
he was by. He came by, and hopefully we'll get a chance to talk to him in the future. But I know that he seems to be enjoying the experience a little more than he did in past years, but it kind of helped that he has a room here. Wave your hotel room, right? Wave your hotel room key.
It was the last time, he was in an Airbnb or something.
Yeah. And there were some days I had to actually drive him. So that's the observations I made from day 2, but it's the parking. And just to further answer your question, Amy, is it inflated attendance? Is it lack of use of public transit? Anecdotally, we were talking with Michelle and Chow, the guys who work with James on the all-night track, right? One of our legacies here, right, Amy? This is a big part of the York University Club's legacy, right? What they do. Anecdotally, Michelle observed with me that, that lobby area in front of that lobby area where Ginkgo is.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
She just said it seemed more empty than it had been in previous years.
Kinda, actually, since I walked by there on the way to come here.
Yeah, there aren't as many people hanging out there. And usually it would be more bustling, because that's just an observation they would make. And sometimes they would just be they would have to keep an eye out for that, because that was part of the duties for the all night for you guys, right? They just said that wasn't, there wasn't as much traffic from their observation at this point in the night. So who knows, right? So maybe it could be, if the numbers are bearing out as no different than in past years, nor not that much different from in past years, a lot of it could be more commuting based than it had been.
Or maybe you have just more younger fans who just can't stay out all night.
That could, it's the changing demographic. It's the way our fandom is going in and out, right? More in, really. But there's just a thought. Talking with, I don't know if we'll have Norm or Chris be able to do the show a bit later. I'm fathoming at the rate things are going, I know they have their things to do too, in settling down. But 35K, that's in the conversation. I think that's with the way this has gone, everything we're seeing, that 35K number that we always talk about, that's very much in the conversation, even though we don't have official numbers from recent years. So I mean, we wondered what was the number last year. We still don't really know, but it might not have gotten close to 35K. But the way we knew that there were there were issues, and a lot. You can also chalk up a lot of that to just not having the proper manpower to handle it. The manpower is here, a lot more in force than it's back to those normal levels.
Yeah, and there was some
we're
rust,
close.
right?
So there's just it's just that you might be prepared, but there's always another tweak that will always pop up and be an issue. And I think they've handled it very well, and there's just some things that, as I said, how much could you have prepared for what happened in the parking lot, right?
You couldn't.
Yeah, with the way people would be, and and yes, it helps to be back in May, and it helps that for much of the week and maybe on Friday the temperatures were below average, and now we're seasonal, and now we're maybe slightly above going into the final day tomorrow. But just some thoughts, and we'll see how things pan out tomorrow, and we'll just report to you then. But we've been talking a lot about the convention itself, and when it comes down to it, the show is about some of the issues in our fandom. Talk about the things that are going on, the headlines, the happenings, and try and make some sense of them. And the best if we at least cover one or two before we're done tonight. So last night, I joked with everybody here about needing an intervention. So here we go.
Okay.
I knew we would have this discussion again when we got closer to the release date, and now that we know it, now is a good time to revisit that discussion. Various outlets over the last week or so have announced that the reboot of the Rurouni Kenshin anime is now set for July 6th in Japan.
And we knew it was a summer release.
Yes.
Well, I guess it was supposed to be spring, then they pushed it to summer. So.
The Shonen Jump classic will essentially be retold from the beginning of the story, but as many of you now know, the real story here is in real life. In recent years, when creator Nobuhiro Watsuki was charged with possession of child pornography in Japan, many past fans of Kenshin have sworn off of the title.
What about you?
We're getting there. Even with Viz canceling the English translation of the Hokkaido arc of the renewed edition of the manga series. However, the title still has fans and continues to keep going, which essentially led to this reboot. And now I come to myself. For myself, I've never hidden my own fandom for the title, but this leads me now to my own torn feelings again, which brings me here tonight in front of a live audience. Cue the crickets. And ask
You're
if it's
invalidating our audience, Mike. Come on, Mike.
And I'll ask if it's worth separating the art from the artist, or just clear cut all of it. And go.
If you want to watch it, it's fine. Do what you want to do. Do what you feel like you have to do to justify watching this if you really want to watch this badly enough. That's
it?
really it. I'm not going to watch it because I already read the manga. I don't have any real need to watch it anyway. And to those who are just going to straight up bootleg watch it instead of giving Aniplex of America any money by watching it a legal stream, then I don't blame them.
This is and you have your version of it with Act Age, right? If I remember.
Yeah,
correctly.
because the writer was sexually harassing prepubescent girls, 12, 13-year-old girls, while he was riding his bike and shit.
Okay.
And screwing over Shiro Usazaki's career for a little while as a result. And Act Age was arguably the best series running in Weekly Shonen Jump at that time. Like, it was like the Hikaru no Go of its time now, where it was just not a traditional Shonen Jump series, but still had that charm to it that made you really appreciate how interesting the story was and how the characters interacted with each other. Like, just the character dynamics were really, really good to see. And strong female lead, which we rarely see in Shonen Jump, if ever. That might actually be the first, like, really good, like, main female lead. Obviously, we've had good supporting cast female leads, like we've like Anna and Shaman King, which we've discussed in the past, but it's fuck, man. That's why I grudgingly still bought those 2 volumes that Viz put out before they cut the cord on it, because you know, the creators were not nearly as established as Watsuki.
Mm-hmm. And okay, continue.
And that's why it got canned. And that's also why I'm, like, hoping that I'm gonna like Akane Banashi as much as others do, because that's basically now, like, taken Act Age's place as the, like, kind of different but really impressive new Shonen Jump series, which is atypical and has a strong female lead.
Okay.
Not a female lead, but otherwise this is Dr. Stone Erasure, and I will not stand for it.
Okay, Amy.
No, James should go first.
Oh.
If he has anything to say, he should.
You're about to. You're
Are you ready to unload it? You can unload
she's
if you
winding
want.
up. She's winding up. Okay.
No, save the hot take for last.
No, the one that we put on Instagram. if I ever decide to start doing Instagram again.
I think they'll probably still find people watching it. It's like, we'll see how it goes. Though I think obviously there's the other thing that maybe people will watch the stream, but I doubt there's going to be many people who want to shell out for the expensive Aniplex releases, especially after what we know, of course. So.
Okay.
Oh, that's it.
I'm gonna brace myself now.
Yeah,
Here.
maybe. I feel a tremendous amount of guilt and shame for buying the Shaman King reboot and Shaman King Flowers volumes, because Hiroyuki Takei supported Watsuki in that stupid mural project. Just because, and that's just someone who, said, oh, I like this manga, or I worked with him as a, assistant or whatever. I feel bad for that. And, it's one of my favorite series. But, to be honest, when those reprints were coming out, I forgot he supported Watsuki after that moment. I forgot, and, far worse than all these. I mean, I love Blood Blockade Brotherhood too. Another artist who supported it. If you look at the list of artists,
like Naito,
who I don't know the name.
Oh,
but
Blood Blockade.
so.
Yeah, Blood Blockade Battlefront would be Yasuhiro Naito. Yes. Yeah, the Trigun guy as well.
Yeah. Like, looking at that list, so many artists supported Kenshin, at least as a franchise, and by proxy, this, disgusting excuse for an artist writer. Chief among them, Oda from One Piece, who was instrumental, apparently, in pressuring, the reinstatement of the Kenshin story and Watsuki's production. I think and I've talked about this, when we talked about all this whole issue in the past, he got a 6-month, please don't publish your book for a while, and please pay us $2,000. There was so much child porn that the police thought he was a distributor. This isn't, people think, oh, it's Japan, people think hentai. No, this was photos, and I think was it just photos? I forget if it was videos as well, but this was, real children, and he got, please pay us $1,000. I've had to pay more money for tax purposes.
Oh.
You know, triple the amount, to be honest, just due to things happening. And like, you know, I'm not begrudging that. I'm fortunate in some ways for that. But, you know, I think there's a time where I had to pay $500 for a parking ticket. And so what is that, like 4 parking tickets? And that is equivalent to having that much child porn. And now his precious anime gets to be fully, you know, remade and celebrated, and people forget. And, you know, people say, oh, yeah, this sucks, but it's part of Japan. So we're in North America. Like, you know, do better. We shouldn't be, you know, in some ways we shouldn't be having this discussion, but it will be had. Who's picking up this license? You know, who's going to voice the characters? And then unfortunately, if it gets dubbed, all of these actors are going to be, you know, attacked on social media for being part of this project. And, you know, and to some degree, I think, you know, yeah, you should refuse this role, because, yeah, money will go back to Watsky. And a lot of, and to sort of give, I mean, it's difficult now that, you know, we're in this intervention mode, I suppose, but to sort of piggyback on what Kevin said, it brings me to my thoughts on the works of J.K. Rowling. So the stage show, the video game that came out recently, things like that. So, you know, vile transphobic bigot who has made her entire life transphobia, essentially. And, you know, a lot of discussion was happening especially when the game was coming out. And, you know, currently the play is still active in Toronto for another month or two. And my position on that is buy what you like, support what you like, but if you want to, you know, first of all, if you are an ally, you shouldn't. But if you want to at least pretend to be a trans ally, don't talk about it. Don't post it on social media. Don't tell anyone you played this game. If you sneak into Walmart at midnight and buy this Harry Potter game and no one knows about it, and you turn off the internet, you don't register it as, you know, part of your gamer tag, whatever, and you play through it, you know, whatever, and because you love Harry Potter so much, then fine, don't tell anyone. Same for the show. Wear a disguise, go see it. So no one recognizes you. Cool. But if I find, like, especially these days, if I find out a connected individual is still supporting Harry Potter, I don't necessarily, like, I don't think they're an awful person, but I don't trust them anymore. I can't. If they have internet access, they're on social media, there is no way I can feel safe around someone knowing that they're openly supporting it. If they, like, you know, casually mention, like, oh yeah, I played it, but, you know, it's not in a big group, they're not, you know, shilling for it, then, you know, I'm still turned off, but I'm not going to, you know, vilify. And I think that, you know, this Kenshin anime is coming out, and it, you know, I understand this puts you in a very difficult place for me making that statement just now, but I think it's a similar, you know, position where, you know, if I hear people, you know, talking about this series and celebrating it, all I will think about is, here's this show I'm watching, it's really great, I'm supporting a pedophile. Like, that gets stamped on any bit of praise, any bit of criticism, any bit of, you know, nostalgia. I don't, and maybe you can, you know, share some insight. I don't know how you can publicly enjoy something when it's stamped with, hi, I'm a pedophile, hi, I'm, a vitriolic transphobe, like not even the casual kind.
There's casual kinds.
Oh, yeah. And it's, again, like, it would be awful enough if someone had drawn provocative, young characters or something. That's already vile. But the magnitude and realness of it being actual victimized children, what happened to them? Why is no one talking about, were their families notified? Are they safe? No, it's all about, because of how things work, it's all about something that should have resulted in jailed for life, and it's so much less than drug possession in Japan.
He would have gone to jail if it was drugs.
Absolutely.
Yeah, because that's just how their culture is. And if I'm not mistaken, at the time, was it still technically legal to possess at the time in Japan? I don't remember. And that doesn't justify it, but I'm just...
It was hovering around the change, whether it was before or after.
Mm-hmm. That could have been key in what happened to him after.
But like 100%, it's Shueisha protecting their own interests by telling Watsuki to go away for a little while.
Kenshin's still in all those jump games.
Yep.
And they did different cross promotions with other games and other things and stuff like that. I know which was the one that was, I forget. It was it wasn't Gung Ho. It was Level 5 or one of the ones. The one that was like Splatoon, but it was
the bubblegum.
The
one?
bubblegum game. Yeah, they've done different ones, and unfortunately, Kenshin was in there. So that was one of the
and I think the live action movies were still being made at the time too.
Yeah. But we've seen it a lot on the Japan side. As we said though, Viz did the scorched earth basically, so it'll be interesting to see what happens. Will that stay consistent in North America for the anime? That's the question in my mind.
The thing was that yes, they did cancel Hokkaido arc immediately. They didn't outright cancel the original series too, though. They never said we are not going to publish it anymore. I think what happened, they didn't stop sales of
but maybe
the existing
they stopped
copies.
Printing. Maybe
that's what I think happened as a result. So I think with Kenshin, they're just letting whatever's still out there just sell in its due course. But I don't think they will reprint it from here on out.
It's also worth mentioning Netflix did pick up the last 2 live action movies, and since then, the first one is on the service as well.
But I think you can still read Kenshin on the Shonen Jump app, though. I think. I don't remember. I can check right now.
I'm aware that you're a fan. It is a popular series. I'm a big fan of Freckles as a song, more from DDR, but the anime opening version's fine too. I know this sounds harsh, but I would say the same thing about Shaman King. Kenshin is a big, famous series. It is not a sacred cow enough series that I feel that they are justified in preserving it to the degree that they did. I'm not necessarily against if there's a big Shonen Jump history poster, throw Kenshin on there. Okay, fine. But the fact that they had that art show, the fact that it's getting, the remake, it's not like I apologize, it's not a Shin-chan, it's not an Astro Boy. It's up there, but it's not even, maybe it has more general clout than JoJo, but I'm trying to find where it's placed, but I don't think it's a cultural touchstone where if the creator of Ultraman was a pedophile, I think that Ultraman has such a legacy of different creators, different iterations. It separated itself from the origin point. Again, I'm not saying that about Ultraman's creator at all, but I think that there's justification for preservation there, and continued celebration, continued, reiterations, remakes. I can't see how Kenshin is that worthy at the expense of children.
So just to quickly confirm, you can still read Rurouni Kenshin and Rurouni Kenshin Restoration, that 2-volume quasi-sequel thing. That is still available to read on the Shonen Jump app. And but in response to you, Amy, I hate to say it, I think Kenshin was at least in from what I can tell, was a huge cultural phenomenon for Japan in the 90s, and was one of the crown titles of Shonen Jump back in that day. So I feel like that's why Shueisha went to such great lengths to
you think they're
try and keep it
going
relevant.
through nostalgia
But
and stuff
I'm
like
saying
that.
that if you look at the, again, this is a very weird metric to use, but if you look at the Shonen Jump games, how many characters does Hunter x Hunter have? 6. How many characters does Dragon Ball have? 12. How many does Naruto have? 8. How many does Kenshin have? It has Kenshin.
Not even Sagara?
So,
Not even Sanosuke? No.
but I'm
Not
just
even
saying that
Sanosuke?
I'm not saying it's not big, because if it wasn't, it would be a assist attack or something in those games.
Yeah.
Death Note, and actually I think Assassination Classroom was, actually that's Shonen Sunday, isn't it? Or is it Jump?
Which one?
it's
Assassination Classroom is Shonen Jump.
Yeah. So it's maybe that's a good, comparable popularity in the sense that except, it's too new that we don't know if it'll ever get a remake or anything.
And I feel like several popular artists were assistants of him
And
as
that's
well.
why that
That's the
celebration
most noteworthy, right?
That's why that celebration happened.
the mentor
I think
protege
Takei was-
thing in Japan, and even among manga assistants and creators, right?
I
There's
mean,
that type
famously
bond.
the Toriko artist was as well, but he's
Yes.
also not a savory individual.
Yeah, with Shima Bukuro, his series at the time did get canceled when his charges happened. Then he went away for quite a while. They let him come back with Toriko, and Toriko ended up being very successful for them. Less so here, but was very popular in Japan. And they did let him finish his original series after the fact as well.
The sorry to get upset about this and again, but the lack of apology even is not that it would mean a whole lot, but the fact that when pressed, Waski's yeah, I'm into young girls. It's what? Why? And the fact that, did he know he would get away with it?
Can't even imagine what his wife thinks throughout this whole thing too.
That goes into Japan's sexism problem, where the wife and the woman in general is generally so, even today, underserved, and in society the role is so weird. I'm not sure how many of you know this, but a lot of openly gay men in Japan have wives, and their wives are completely fine with it because they consider homosexuality a hobby. I was oh yeah, that's what they do at night. So it's, as far as what his wife feels, who knows? I hope she's disgusted. But as the whole backstory for this issue, how much of this is an unfortunate Japanese law discussion and Japanese, I don't want to say Japanese culture, because, I know that there are people there that are just as disgusted as we are. And that goes for everything that people make broad assumptions about Japan's, backwardness or slowness. Yeah, it's backward and slow, but, there's still, there's morality, there's
They're
ethics.
trying to find their own ways to move the ball forward.
Well, you just need all those old people to die before the young people that know better can finally,
Don't count your chickens before they hatch, though, Kevin.
before
You
they
never know.
finally-
You know what I mean?
Well, I hate to say it, but that really seems to be the case.
Obviously.
Well, even in our society, for a lot of stuff, it's just all the old people gotta die first, and then the new people can hopefully right the ship, so to speak.
You better be careful,
And
because
this-
there was a Japanese professor, I think he was in the States, that said something to like that, and he got roasted in Japan, right? But you know how it goes.
Yeah, unfortunately.
The last thing I'll say for now is that, and I think I sort of touched on this at the beginning, but I'm definitely not saying it's worse than what Watsky did. But I think it is worth pointing out, and I don't care if I make enemies with One Piece fans, but it's horrific how much Oda went to bat for him. Like, regardless of the friendship, regardless of the mentorship, regardless of anything, the degree, like, it sucks that all those artists, celebrated, but, the collective love for the series and the artists, like, there's some degree of like, okay, I can let this slide. But the fact that there is reports of Oda literally going to bat for this person and playing a part in, his restoration, like the whatever you want to call the restoration of his image, like that element is so painful. Like it goes beyond the bystander effect, which is controversial, but like the basic tenets of it, I think are valid. Like when the fact that people stay quiet, I'm definitely not going into it right now, but with the rising, transphobia, biphobia, queerphobia in general that's going on right now, a big part of its rise in power is that other people who say they're allies aren't doing enough. And that's why it's spreading into New Brunswick. That's why it's spreading into Ottawa and Toronto and North York. York region. It's the fact that people see something terrible happen and they either say nothing or they listen to bad actors and give them time to speak. And I feel similar with Oda's response here, where a fan, I understand loving a series. I understand wanting to separate the art from the artist. I can understand friendship. If Oda wanted to go to Watsky's house and support him, bake him a cake, play with his kids if he has kids, like, oh, you're going through a hard time, let me support you. That's even, I'd even say that's a good thing to some degree. But again, kind of like my thoughts with Harry Potter, if he's doing that in private, that's a good thing. But openly supporting, a criminal like that is, like, that's, horrible as well. That's been a long rant. I apologize.
No need to apologize.
No need to apologize.
So you made your decision now, Mike?
I don't apologize for the content. I apologize for the length.
So the answer is you're not going to watch, correct?
Don't tell me.
Or if you're going to do it in private and make sure like it's on a VPN and a few other things too.
Make sure it's just as illegal as possible.
Well, I mean, at the time we first talked about it, I think that was some of the sentiment. It might be the one time you can justify bootlegging.
Well, it's interesting because, if it's Aniplex Japan, it's under the Funimation Crunchyroll banner and stuff like that.
Be.
Well,
and so it makes you wonder what's going to happen with it. Do they want that under their brand? And what do they stand for?
So Aniplex of America has a license for Kenshin because no other licensing company would touch it, knowing the backlash they would get.
Well, that's where it starts to get interesting. Where will it, if it's ever to pop up in North America? And let's be honest, we've only heard the stories about its release in Japan to this point. nothing has been said about it overseas.
Because it's only Aniplex of America could do this release because they don't give a shit anyways about fans half the time. That's why they charge so much.
So you're saying that Disney's gonna follow up Bleach by getting Kenshin, huh? Might as well.
No, Disney knows better than that. They would have theoretically done their research on that.
Hopefully.
But it's just like, well, like you look at how I always kind of like talk about this amongst ourselves, but like Henry Goto, formerly of Geneon Entertainment, is running the show at Animex of America still, if I'm not mistaken.
That's what I'm not sure of, but who knows anymore.
But if
There's a name from the past, though.
But
There's a hell of a name.
if he is still involved, it just doesn't surprise me that they we're gonna still put out this show, but maybe it's kind of forced on them. Who knows? But it's just like it just wouldn't surprise me because it's still it's Aniplex of Japan. Maybe got involved. Who knows? We'll never know. But it just wouldn't surprise me. It was them because no other company would.
That's right.
Understandably so.
And
Because that's just like a marketing disaster waiting to happen.
I just mentioned to the anime schmanime guys who passed by earlier. If there's one thing I enjoy watching, it's a NASCAR crash. So
one thing Kevin said just did give me reason for reflection. If I'm still caught up on that stupid mural. If Shueisha or whatever, I don't want to say they threaten the artist, but if there was pressure to support this project, even the richest of mangaka, it's a tough job. If, again, most of these are the richest of the rich, so I'm even double second guessing myself. I'm like, I've seen Hiroyuki Takei's house. No, shut up. Shut up me. So many cars.
Oh, really?
It's like a DeLorean, whatever. Anyways,
that many royalties from Shaw. I guess it shouldn't not
depending
surprising,
on the success. And shaw making is not successful. Imagining how much some of these other people make. But that's the one caveat. If their family's livelihood was at risk, draw Kenshin fan art, or you're not drawing books for our company and it's the idol industry or any other company again, sure. But again, I don't know if that actually happened, but I wanted to.
But it's always worth noting, Shonen Jump is capable of that type of stroke.
Yeah,
and
past them.
That's just that's been documented.
He was never able to replicate that success
on any other title.
Yeah, because Booster Ranking got canceled.
It came over here and it didn't do well. So
it did well enough to go that 10-volume length, but they did axe it in Japan, and then his Frankenstein story did run for quite a while in Jump Square, but it just never came out here. It just wasn't successful enough to warrant an anime. And then he felt like, oh well, guess I gotta do more Kenshin.
Went back to the well.
Anyway, and just like with GTO guy too.
Yeah. Toru Fujisawa.
Yes.
If memory serves me right.
Yes, that is his name.
Yeah. I'm still. I have to digest this too. I said it was a lot. It would be a lot to digest. I knew that when I posed the question again, and I'm in reflection mode too. I think I was always going to be in reflection mode, because.
No, I was just going to say I'm willing to accept the compromise of. I'm a big fan of Star Trek, and Voyager is awkwardly my favorite. And in online circles, there's a joke that they call Janeway infamous war criminal Captain Janeway. If anytime someone talked about Kenshin, they say the pedophile authored series, Kenshin. If they said that first, I think, and it was mandated, or it's somewhere in that sentence, like Kenshin by notable pedophile Watsky, I think I'd be better with its distribution.
It's kind of like saying during their initial interviews for the cast of Schitt's Creek, They made it a point to actually flash the title on the screen, so because people were pronouncing the word Schitt's Creek.
Oh, yeah.
Just to make sure people would know where it was coming from. Yeah. Well, July 6th. That's the key. This is the date worth noting. Nothing else has been said. And I think what happens next is of interest, too. As I said, we don't know what happens outside of Japan to this.
And you never know.
to this
Maybe
at the
something
moment.
might happen even at Anime Expo, because sometimes they bring some of that stuff there. So it'll be interesting to see what they decide to do there, because that's a big industry
That'll
celebration.
happen around
right?
that time, won't it?
Yeah.
If
It makes me think of, what was it? I think Saito Soma is voicing Kenshin this time around. They're not bringing back any of the original cast.
No, and none of the original cast is.
I have friends who are big Saito Soma fans, so makes me wonder what they think.
Yeah. So there's. Can I sleep on this? It's been a long week. No, it's tough. It's just these are legit thoughts. I cannot dismiss any of these. That's why, but I wanted to hear them again. So I'm not like I appreciate all of this. That's why.
Yeah, online discourse has always been intriguing to regarding this topic, just because like you see the people that are saying that they will probably bootleg this if they choose to actually watch it, and then you have some people that have burned their copies of the manga and will have staunchly said, I will not support this anymore. And then you also have the people that just don't give any fuck and will just watch it anyway because they just don't care about the situation. So I'm just like, I don't want to say duality of man, but it's just
there.
Everyone just lays it out to bear, and then it's just.
And then with
okay.
Anime News Network banning discussions of Watsuki, but not banning discussions of Kenshin. Like, that would be the easier solution, but no, let's ignore the pedophile in the room. I'm upset about that as well.
Yeah. As I said, I knew I'd ask for it if I was asking for this, right?
Yeah,
So-
probably knew what was coming.
Yeah, I knew. I did. And that's fine. But, yeah, I'd have trouble being put on the spot over this right now. But there you go.
I'm not trying to even put you on the spot. I'm just trying, and I'm trying to express my frustration about the lack of justice for the vulnerable.
Yes.
Is the main
Of which, and
piece.
there's plenty to go around in there too. So, yeah, there's nothing more to come on this story, no doubt. But I just want to start to revisit, and let's see how this discussion goes now. That what is it? Today's date is we're officially into the 28th, so we do have a little bit more than a month to go. So let's think about it then. When's Anime Expo?
July.
Yes,
The
in July.
July 4th.
Oh, the July 4th weekend.
Because they always do
this
the
should
thing.
this will be interesting then. Let's see how it's handled there, because almost certainly.
Because it's been interesting when you think about Crunchyroll and all that stuff. They've had all these other series they've announced for summer and for fall and all this stuff, but they've been quiet on the ones. So it'll be interesting to see how it all rolls out, as we said. But hopefully it all works itself out.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Well, now.
Hopefully it doesn't work itself out.
Hopefully.
To be honest,
I guess my
I
word
don't
choice
want
was
this to,
poor. It was more, we're
fizzle
hoping
out.
that it, you know what I mean, that there is no conversation, but you know what I mean, the conversation is in the right spot, and hopefully to educate people on the other side of the Pacific to maybe find a way, right, to make a better society, or you know what I mean, to push the ball forward somehow. That's probably the better way.
It is tough. It is tough.
I know, yeah, that's true.
No, this-
My wording went off rails.
It is
Well,
tough.
evil Sony is evil, right?
But that's it. That's it.
Because
Rule the world.
Aniplex is owned by Sony, in case
and-
people didn't know.
And
I think
it's one of those properties.
it's just that the most likely scenario, unfortunately, is that if it is announced, it'll be announced. There'll be a little bit of complaints, and
It's still theirs.
it'll go away, right?
There you go. Okay. So, can I lighten it up a little bit?
Sure, what did you
So
want
we can shit on K-Manga now?
Well, that happened last night, actually.
But I wasn't there, though.
Yeah, you weren't. And we'll give you that chance a bit later on. It's soon enough, because we talked a little bit about that, but... And then we
I
contrasted
thought it was just like a white or a black page with nothing on it, and that's what you read on K-Manga, isn't that right, Kevin?
Well, I didn't even download the app, so I don't truly know.
Well, none of us could here in Canada.
Exactly.
Well, okay, so... Well, obviously the neither Norm or Chris, they're occupied at the moment, or probably asleep. It is late now. And we should start to get to the back end or the latter stages of the taping. I did, however, want to lighten it up before we finished up this evening. And over the Anime North episodes, we've started a tradition of playing little games and just what have yous, just hypotheticals, a game of yes or no, as I like to call it. And I thought maybe just before we go off the air tonight, play a little bit of yes or no.
Okay.
I think some of these questions I've asked already, but I just want to see if we can what comes out of our little talks this year. Okay. Off the top, since we were talking video games a few minutes ago, or earlier in the episode, and Steam Decks and Switches earlier.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yes or no? First impressions of Project Q, since I was mentioned a few days ago in the PlayStation presentation.
Expensive peripheral that will die very fast.
I actually don't know what this is.
It's meant to be, well, it is Sony's next handheld answer.
I thought
But
it was Wii U too.
yeah, the thing is, it's meant to be more of a remote play device. But it'll have DualSense capabilities with just an 8-inch screen in the middle.
So this is their reaction to the Steam Deck, basically.
Could be, yes.
All it is
But-
you're streaming what you have in the PlayStation 5.
Somebody here is just saying,
It's more than that. It's like a whole big industry now.
Yeah.
Asus has got something.
but
You could get
Oh,
more.
really?
You could get more out of the PS2 VR than you could out of this thing. Like, I think it'll just be for the hardcore.
you don't think, yeah.
That's all.
I'm interested because I've always said that Sony should get back into the handheld game in some form. Is this it?
I think we know what Jim Ryan thinks. He
So-
thinks no, and we know
I
what he
don't
thinks of
know.
all the Japanese and the quirky games. No,
So
it's prestige entertainment.
Even though it was Otome Games that sustained the Vita throughout the rest of its lifespan in North America.
anyway, so guarded. Okay.
So what was the yes no?
Well,
That's what I'm trying to figure out. now.
it sounds like a no for you. That's for sure.
Oh, no, yes.
Yeah, no.
I think okay. Yes or no? The One Piece live action will eventually see daylight. Because
Yeah.
there was
Yeah,
there was this
probably will.
line recently that Oda said it won't go, it won't be shown until I'm totally happy with it.
Oh, really, eh?
I think I heard that recently, so I'm not
Really?
totally sure. Oh, hey, Norm's here.
I got a few minutes.
Okay, Norm. Oh, wow. Maybe I should get Norm's take on what we just talked about too.
Oh boy.
Hey. Okay, well, it's a rather interesting topic. So it was a strong, and some strong opinions just given. But
Strong opinions.
well, why don't you have a seat, Norm?
That's my,
We'll
my forte.
yeah. So Norm is here, and we'll give him microphone number 4 for a few minutes. Well.
Hope you don't regret it. Anyhow, what you
no more than how strong this episode has already gone.
Okay.
Okay. Do you want me to rehash some of what we just talked
Yeah.
about? Okay, this
You're gonna have
was
to.
a bit heavy, I
Okay.
think. By the way, Norm McEvoy, assistant
Well,
program
assistant head of programming among
so-
many other titles.
among
at this
many
time.
other titles here at
Yeah.
Anime North, and we can go on and on, listen to the past episodes. You know that I've been a big Kenshin fan over the years, right?
Oh, yes.
And you think just having said that, do you think you know where I'm about to go with this?
Yeah.
Okay.
I love at the time. I remember when it came out. I loved the series myself. The movie was excellent, and it had a whole feel to it. Rurouni Kenshin, a man who's trying to escape his past and make good. Have you ever seen the movie Shane?
I haven't.
I forget you're a different generation. That's about a Western gunslinger who again tries to find peace, but just can't escape his past, and that's what the Rurouni Kenshin was. He tried to escape his final past, but they kept catching up to him, and he had to find a way to. But anyhow, it was a great anime, great manga.
But you know, the story these days has little to do with that story. It has to do with the real life part of it.
The creator is in a disgraced state, and yeah, it's one of those. We're not going to show it at all anymore, even in a retro now, because it's just too much baggage with it.
And with its reboot anime is set for debut in Japan on July 6th, just for reference. So
good luck on that for them, but that's going to be a tough sell in a lot of quarters.
Outside, anywhere. You think anywhere?
Anywhere outside Japan, I would think.
Yeah.
Fair. See, that I told you it would be heavy.
Oh no! I mean, yeah.
And I think we have to. But I think.
But you can't skirt this stuff.
Huh?
You can't.
That's why I didn't. That's just why I want to have this talk here. Not the easiest talk, but.
Oh. Well, it's never easy when the people you loved, you respected and admired, and you loved their work, and well, as they say, they all have feet of clay, and in this case, this feet of clay are dragging you down into the mud. And maybe deservedly so.
But that's the crux of what we get talked about over the last half hour, to be honest. And I'm still, on the very much in the wind on how I feel about this.
Well,
so
in the end, we're all adults. We're all human. You make your own choice, but go by your conscience, and if you can live with it. But, in the end, it is just a comic. It's a comic. It's an anime. It's a cartoon show. And is it really that important that, you put your self-respect on the line? I mean, you can only go so far. Mm-hmm. And this guy did, he did something that's, I don't remember, were there criminal charges?
What was the?
Was there anything proven in the court of law? Not, I hate people saying that.
Yeah. He basically just got a slap on the wrist.
That's really what it came down to.
Okay. But what should he have gotten if it's true?
Jail.
Okay.
For a long time, if not the
That's
rest
not
of his
the case,
life.
But
okay.
That's not here. That's not the discussion at this point.
But
anyway. But that was what we were talking about.
Okay.
Anyway. But otherwise, now to lighten it up.
Yeah.
From your end, we talked. Okay, here's a yes or no. Here's a yes or no, since we were in the middle of the yes or no segment. Can we truly say Anime North is back with the way this weekend's gone?
Well, he never left. We've always been. It's just like, hey, we always been here, but back in a way that we were before. Yeah, I'm going to say yes.
Because you had me thinking that thought came to mind when I visited the staff office for the first time on Thursday, and talked with Chris and Ken.
Okay.
And that was just something he kind of remarked when I greeted him, and he just said, "Yeah, it's just great to really be back."
Well,
and when I asked him that, it was just because it just feels right to be doing it at this time of the year.
Well, did you ever remember the character? Who's that character, Naruto? Rock Lee. He's running around, then he takes off the weights.
Yeah, that's Rock Lee.
Well, yeah, there's lots of things, but yeah, that's real. Like she suddenly dropped the weights off your ankles and your waist, and yeah, that's what it feels like. We can we can run like we used to. We're running, We want to go all night. We got people to go all night. We can.
Well, as I said, that's part of our legacy here, right?
Yeah, we've been let loose, and we're back.
Yeah.
In the time of year that we didn't start off at this time, but here we are. And it's become
10 months turnaround. And it was just like, was the planning difficult because you didn't have that 10 month, you didn't have the 12 month run?
Parts of it, you know what you're doing. It's like it's muscle memory. But other parts, like, yeah, you had to put an extra boost. You know, dealing with the company, dealing with guests and other stuff. You know, and thank God the venues were all on us too. Both here, the Delta, the TCC, they were all with us, and they were a big help. You know,
well, because we know how important it is to this neighborhood, right?
Oh yeah.
I mean that's a big part of it. And okay, reflections, because I know this is also the 20th anniversary of the final show at Regal.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, we talked about that last night.
Yeah, 2003.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
that was the final time we were there.
And I remember, you know, we were all at Hags. Yeah, we're going ahead. We're getting ready for next year. And then suddenly, we were there in August for what used to be called Toronto Trek, and that was, you know, that's when we heard the news. It's like, whoa. So what are we going to do? Well, on a whim, Eileen and I and a friend named Nancy, who was on our charity auction, we just took a drive down here and said, because I remember in '97, Toronto Trek was held here just before Anime North. And we had our anime room that we did a lot of planning for that here. And we said, you know, let's drive on down, take a look at it. Because we remember this hotel's not bad for us. We took a drive down here and we looked across at the Congress Center and said, you know, we should tell the others about this. You know, this might be a possibility. Mm-hmm. Now the Regal was it was a good hotel to run stuff like that in, but the time we were doing it, you could tell there was something just, you know, something more than just a slap of paint and new wallpaper wasn't going to fix.
Yeah. Well, the thing was, that was the only one I attended in Regal myself, and it was okay, but you just also got this feeling it was starting to outgrow it.
Yeah, we had that. Say, where do we go next, man?
Because everything was contained there. The dealer's room, I know, was if I remember everything was self-contained in that facility, and it just felt like it was not going to fit much longer in there.
And at one time, it was one of the biggest hotels in Toronto area. Mm-hmm. And at one point, you know, it was a well attended. People loved it, but you know, it's like everything loses its glamour. And that's what I think happened to Regal. It's just, there was good things and bad things about running out of that hotel. And like since then, all these years, we've learned to like this. We really like this one and how well we all fit together in it. So that one, there's some fun stuff we did there. And but you know, things change, things move on. Mm-hmm. So.
And I do have memories of that first year here, like in 2004, like with the buses.
Well, no.
It
wasn't
the
year
here.
after because we had Sheridan.
Oh yeah,
and
but
TCC,
we had yet to get we had yet to come in here. The convention had yet to be
we
here.
started off in the Renaissance. We started off
across the way.
Renaissance and the Congress Center. Those two.
And you had to take that bus. There was that bus that shuttled between the two areas.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. This hotel where we're sitting now, I think what was the name at the time? Doubletree? It was still Doubletree at the time.
Mm-hmm.
Doubletree wouldn't have been available in 2004.
Well, at the time, there's a group called the Red Hat Ladies. Look it up, you know, but it's basically a bunch of old ladies who they had it, and they had it for that weekend, I believe. Knights of Columbus were here a lot too. Mm-hmm. Well, you make the joke, you see the Knights of Columbus going there, hey, see, we got some early cosplayers.
Okay.
You ever seen the Knights of Columbus? It's like, what is this, the Illuminati come to town? They're the Catholic version of the Masons, and they wear cloaks and fancy hats.
I mean...
But they got a lot of money.
That, yeah. So, yeah,
and
that's
the old Red Hat ladies, they saw all our young male cosplayers, they turned into cougars. They love seeing the young guys cosplay.
Wow, imagine what it would be like today. But But so what your thoughts already on AN? I mean, like, just how the weekend has gone.
For the most part, pretty good. We got the numbers, but we didn't have the problems with the lines this time. We got more people come back in registrations. We did an early mail out, and that helped a lot. So I think we're going to keep up with that. I think, well, last year, whatever, we had a lot of growing pains, like I said, working the rust out. I think we worked that rust out, and it's showing here.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, of course, there are other things like it just got big. I know with all the sellout, with the caps and the sellouts of the passes for the rest of the weekend.
Last year, I think we kind of got caught a little off guard because we didn't know how many people. We were uncertain how many we were going to have. This year, we were more on top of that. So the caps are for a reason. Like I said, the venues want it because they don't want just keep cramming people in like they do at the MTCC downtown. They don't like seeing that. They want a control of it. You can only have so many people in the building or around the building, and that's what the fire marshals want. Mm-hmm. Like I said before, in Ontario, do not mess with the fire marshals. No. They will take measures. If you laugh at them, they will shut you down. So you got to be very mindful of them.
Yeah.
But they're there for a reason.
I don't doubt that. It was just interesting to just see the whole place again this year, and so soon. But it felt comfy. It felt comfy because it wasn't in the middle of July or anything like that.
Yeah, July's never been one of my favorite months, and there's a reason for that because where I spent the last 40 years of my life, and just a hot, miserable in the steel plant, folks. So. It's hot enough there in the winter, in July, oh my God. So working in July never has been a fun thing. Last year, we had challenges in July because the heat and because of other stuff. We weren't used to it. But yeah, I like May. May does feel, it's the start of the summer. Mm-hmm. And it is easier for people booking staff and that, people booking vacation in May because.
It's not July.
July. Probably a lot of people want July, and if you're a junior person in the place, and all the senior people, they get the first pick. Mm-hmm. So that would be if we'd been in July, all of our time, I don't know if I've been able to do Anime North.
Yeah,
because my workplace, I wouldn't been able to pick the time.
Well, I mean, it's just, I guess yeah.
But like I said, we feel like we're back up there. We still got some people to get back, for various reasons they couldn't make it, but we're getting there.
Well, maybe some things are still, there's still some rust to go out.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Before we let you go, we don't have to do the rest of this segment, but I did want to bring this up. In memory of, at the front of the program guide this year.
Hand it to me, dear, so I can see their faces.
Yeah. At the front of the program guide last year, we gave gave tribute to former members of the Concom who had passed away during the pandemic. Yeah. This year, we kept it to 2 names, and they're significant names in our fandom.
Well, there's been a lot of icons, not just in the fandom, but all over the world. Not there anymore. I won't go over them, but I like these 2 names. Yeah, Ichiro Mizuki is what an incredible voice. The man is known for singing a lot of the theme songs, the opening songs for anime, and my God, what a voice this guy had! Just terrific. You hear him doing the Yamato song or Galaxy Express. He either belt it out or he could do a slow melodic like the Galaxy 3.9 there, where you just wow. So just that, and then we have Leiji Matsumoto.
And you have foremost experts here. Like foremost fans and experts on the man.
Well, I'm going to tell you right now, what he did. He's a lot of the reason we have anime cons. He's a lot of reasons I got into anime. So yeah, he's one of the legendary icons of manga, and they'll live on forever.
Hey, what I said. Remember what I? You guys didn't know what I said when he passed away, but I just wrote. He was the guy that started the fire that keeps all of us warm.
Yeah.
In many ways.
Well, and I've been playing various of his works. Right now, we got Interstellar 5555, which is one of his later works. He did later on. The band Daft Punk, they hooked up when they went.
That was
one
a
of his
team up between Daft Punk and him, and it was an incredible thing they created together, an artistic work. You know what I mean? So he dabbled in many different ideas.
Daft Punk, they're a French band, aren't they?
Correct. Yes, they're French.
And French, they're big into animation. They have one of the biggest animation festivals in Annecy. In fact, the biggest. And they were huge fans of his, and just for them, it was a dream to work with him.
But isn't that such a... Basically, they became fanboys at that point.
Yeah, but just go. The other one we played other things, like did Queen Millennium. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I played the new Star Blazers, 2199. It's a newer thing.
Such a good show.
Oh, yeah, and last night, I finally got to do it. I got to play Arcadia of My Youth last night, because we've never... show, but every science fiction con, media con, played it at one time. I saw first time I saw it whole was at a comic in 1983 or 84 in Ottawa. Mm-hmm. Sitting in a little room like this, 9 in the morning, watching the Harlock movie. So, and what makes that one so great is not, besides everything else, the Japanese voice of Harlock was done by a legendary actor in Japan. That was the only anime voice work he did. The only, and when he passed, this guy passed on. He died at an early age. He had everybody in Japan. It was anybody in the entertainment industry come to see this man's funeral. So and to me, it's just one of those. I don't know what newer fans make of it, but it's one of those. It's an iconic. It's like watching older movies like Casablanca or such. It's got that feel to it. And in fact, Matsumoto was a big fan of the old Hollywood movies, pirate movies in particular. And Ronald Colman was the model for Harlock. For some reason, Roger Corman had him sound like John Wayne in the Galaxy 3-9 because he dressed like a cowboy. He said he's got to sound like John Wayne. All right, bartender, give me a bottle of milk. And you're going to, seriously, and you're going to drink it and you're going to like it. That's how he sounded. They did a remake. He sounded more like Ronald Colman, which was famous English actor who was just, great stuff. So, well, what more? And he said there's another couple of names. The Kamen Rider actor,
whose name doesn't come to mind at the moment.
He passed on, and
when we met up on Thursday, Antonio Inoki.
And I've got to mention Antonio Inoki. And if you don't know who that is, if you grew up in Japan in the last 50 years, he was known well outside of Japan too, but you knew this guy was like, I'm going to say, Hulk. Actually, he made Hulk Hogan's career. He was a big part of Hulk Hogan's career. In
the early years.
But he was like, people in Japan knew him like they knew Muhammad Ali here in the rest of the world. And that's kind of ironic because Ali and Inoki were tied together. Because, Inoki wasn't just one of Japan's most famous along with Shohei Baba and Ricky Dozen. He was more just a wrestler. He was an iconic figure. He was a pioneer in mixed martial arts. He won the first in it. He was a politician. He ran for parliament and got elected. He converted to Islam, and during the first Gulf War, he goes to Iraq to meet with Saddam Hussein and talks him into letting him have some of the Japanese citizens go home with him. So just an amazing life. What you got to do with anime? Well, anytime you see a big burly guy with a rock jaw, that's Inoki. You've seen him everywhere. You can get away from him in some places, but just an amazing character and a cultural icon. And now he's joined. Ricky Dozen was his mentor. Now he's joined him. So Well,
Ricky Dozen's the mentor to a lot of people.
Oh yeah.
Right. When it comes to Japanese pro wrestling.
It's
right?
just ironic because Inoki also, it might have been the best device. He did the Collision in Korea.
Mm-hmm. No, that's a story in and of itself.
Oh yeah.
The when New Japan and WCW did a show in North Korea.
Yeah, the only two people that liked it were Inoki and Muhammad Ali because they had a great time. Everyone else was, dear God, what are we doing here?
That's like that's a dark side of the ring.
It is a dark
episode,
side of the ring, and it's a fun one. It's interesting one to watch, but
that's a good series, by the way. I really enjoy that series.
I knew one of the people in that. His name Johnny Canine.
Yeah,
what a character! He was
a wrestler, like a popular one back in the day. I think in his later days he teamed with Dynamite Kid or something in Stampede.
No, Johnny.
I'm thinking somebody else.
Johnny was, oh my God. He may have been a murderer.
Oh boy.
He ran a bike. He joined a bike gang. He did, but that's another story.
Now I'm thinking somebody else.
Yeah, but what was I thinking? Inoki there, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, but okay, the match the Koreans hated that. The North Koreans hated it because they were forced to go watch it. The only guy that had fun was the Korean leader, was Kim Jong.
I think it was
the father of the current one. And you had to go to make him, because that's what he wanted. And all the American and Japanese wrestlers were hated. The only guy that got a chair was Inoki. Why? Because his mentor and trainer was a fellow named Ricky Dozen, very famous Japanese wrestler and pioneer in the 50s. But Ricky wasn't Japanese.
He was Korean.
Yeah, he came in and trained as a sumo wrestler, but for various reasons, I think many of us know that he wasn't big enough to be a sumo, but he becomes a pro wrestler. But Ricky was like many Koreans that were born in the pre-war World War II days. Yeah, he ended up, coming to Japan not wanting to. But he, how to put it, he was born in Korea, but it was all Korea back then. When after the post-war partition, it was in North Korea. While the North Koreans, they embraced that. They saw Ricky as a hero. He was this Korean that went to Japan. He showed the Japanese what it was to be a man, and he beat up on those dirty white foreign wrestlers. I mean, especially the first match against a couple of guys named the Sharp Brothers, who were both 6'6" and dirty as heck, but they're dirty fighters. And yeah, they were from my hometown. So what do you expect from a couple of Hamilton guys? And they loved him for. And when Inoki came out, man, the crowd, they went nuts. But how smart Inoki knew that was going to happen. So yeah, this guy was more than just a pretty face. So yeah, that's, I guess, I said, a lot of icons gone. People, you don't know what it's got, but like I said, you look at a lot of animes, you'll see him. He actually showed up in Tiger Mask. He was a pivotal.
I mean, that's a pop.
No, he was a pivotal figure. Him and Shohei Baba were both pivotal figures in the first Tiger Mask series. So yeah.
Yeah, and no.
So anyhow, apart from that, anything else you got?
No, that's what was on the mind. It was just I want to get your take on some of the serious stuff that we were going to talk about.
Like I said, man,
I hate to be like, we were trying to lighten it up, but I thought we had to have that discussion, right?
Yeah. So they say you sow what you reap. You sow what you reap, as they say.
Anyway, but I thought it was just nice to have you chat with you
always
again.
Glad to be here. So.
Anyway, but you know what? I just realized I'm looking at the time on this. Maybe it's just time to end it.
Well, I got to get back to check what's going on.
Yeah, well, with the all-night stuff going on, what has all the programming completed for tonight?
Oh, we still got the all-night stuff going on.
Well, we'll go check them out and pack up. Okay.
Yeah, so we got the folks, the Yama crew in, and they're back doing what they want, their stuff, and yeah, happy to have them. So yeah.
As I said, that's part of our legacy. Thanks, Norm.
Okay.
As always, thanks for the time.
That's what
I'm glad it's a lot more relaxed compared to the way things went last year. Because that's still
Well, again, you don't know what's going to happen, but we're just glad, and now...
But one last thing, yes or no, is 35K a real possibility this year?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Now, you're talking warm bodies or paid attendance? I think both. But definitely warm bodies.
There's a lot of bodies out there today.
So I'm going to say 35K. Yeah, that's a distinct possibility, and that's all I think I can say on that. But yeah.
Okay.
Okay then, folks, and good night, good luck, and thanks for all the fish.
That I got to find out about a little later on.
Hitchhiker Guide to the Galaxy. Look it up.
Thanks for the thoughts. Well, that pretty much... I can't think of anything else to do tonight.
I still need to shit on K-Manga.
Huh?
I still need to shit on K-Manga.
Okay, I'll give you that chance. 5 minutes, go. And then we wrap up. Because we talked, James gave a couple thoughts, Lawrence gave a couple thoughts, but...
I saw there was some new stuff or news, but most of it was regurgitation of what I heard Kevin said he had discussed with you, so...
Okay, give me a final thought, because I know it's probably not gotten any better.
So, I don't even remember if we talked about it since it launched.
Not really.
So, it was a coin system.
Yeah, which we said.
It's not paid subscription.
Yeah.
As we expected.
Mm-hmm. And we know there's going to be further discussion on this. But
And
censorship was mentioned as well.
Yes,
and
this was all in the answer
And we now
article, yeah.
know how far that extends.
So it's going to be on the desktop version that they'll eventually put out too,
Okay.
which is dumb.
Well, I'm not going to argue.
And it's like you're really gonna make me do never-ending surveys to get like 10 coins so I can spend it on like one chapter or like maybe one chapter. Not that I can access it anyway, because we don't live in the United States. But this really smells like Japanese high-ups wanting to enforce what they think is the right way to distribute digital manga.
Well, yes. Okay,
As
you want to
saw
finish
there, Kevin, they're doing it for the manga artists. Doing it for
Well,
them.
of course they are. Of course they are.
Okay.
This is doing it for their artists
Are you
too.
holding back?
A little bit, yeah.
I'm giving you the chance. Let her rip.
Like, okay, so Answer Man did that article where
Yes.
they submitted those questions to Kodansha. And, yes, it's fine. It's fine and great that they're supporting creators as they're supposed to. But, Viz is doing that too. And they're doing a subscription model. There's so many other companies that they figured out how to pay out royalties to their creators through a subscription model. And, I don't know. It's just frustrating. Because, I want to read legal manga. And you make it so hard. You have to make me work for it this hard to even read like 5-6 chapters. And you know what? I'm that type of person that only reads that many chapters in a day anyway sometimes. So it actually doesn't affect me that much relative to other fans that would want to read a lot of a certain series at once. And, kudos to Kodansha for actually having like a lot of exclusives that are never translated in English, like Baby Steps and Kapita. And, I loved watching that Kapita anime back in like 05, 06. I believe it's by the Daigo creator, if I'm not mistaken. But I'm just like, okay, that whole statement they made is purely PR speak, because of course it has to be. And it just feels like a whole lot of nothing to me. It's just like
you are really sighing heavily.
I can't even say everything that I know about it. Because you know what I'm referring to. I've talked to you about this, behind the mic.
Yes.
So, it feels as if they don't even want to make money off of this. Because honestly, I feel like there's definitely Japanese interference on this.
Well, it's been like this is very much a Kodansha Limited thing, not Kodansha USA.
Yeah, like
It's also nice, remember, Kevin, that they're having the digital launch party a month after the fucking launch. What the heck is that even mean?
And why do you and why did they not even like? How do you promote a service not even telling you people the price for the whole time?
Like this
Because they knew people were gonna shit on them for it,
and
they did.
and they did.
So how
and-
many fake coins does it cost again, Kevin?
I don't even know. I can't even use the app anyway.
Well,
and,
yeah,
and Viz gleefully took advantage of this by promoting their app
The day before.
like 1 to 2 days before.
And the ironic thing is, all they had to be was competent. And that's all they had to do.
Yeah.
Just
It's-
somewhat competent to win.
Well, they already know a model, right? They're familiar with a model. But remember what I said to you. Like, remember my popular phrase, kicking and screaming. This is sort of it.
Like
I think this way was more of my way or the highway, and they're going to die on the sword. So to speak.
100% it's my way or the highway. Because it's kind of like the whole Bandai Visual USA thing from ages ago.
With the discs.
And it's also like how Aniplex of America runs their operation. But they have the popular titles to back that statement up. They know people will pay like $200 for Gurren Lagann if that's the only way they can watch it now. But at least they make their stuff easy to watch. You can still watch most of those shows legally streaming, at the very least. So I give Aniplex credit for that. And yes, I follow them on Twitter, and yes, they are trying to actively give out a lot of free chapters to read because it's a new service, but it just feels like it's like another case of like, yep, we think this is the right way to do it, and they don't care. And I wouldn't be surprised if other people in Kodansha were trying to tell Kodansha Japan, like, look, this is really, like, we don't think this is a good idea, but then they get ignored. Or they feel like they can't say anything.
Okay.
Because if I'm not mistaken, the higher-ups at Kodansha USA are Japanese. They had come from Kodansha Japan, if I'm not mistaken. Which wouldn't surprise me that this is the result of that. So yeah, the app's dead on arrival, basically. Like, just about as bad as like Manga Up was. And Manga Up like basically did have to admit that, yeah, we need to make the thing better. So we'll see if Kodansha does that. They got to give us access.
Well,
up in Canada.
Let's see what. Yeah.
Which was also dumb that we don't even have access, because when all this simulpub stuff was happening on other sites like Crunchyroll and Azuki, we had access. So why don't we have access now? When you license rights to these things, usually you include Canada with the USA.
But you know what it's like to be.
And I'm assuming, yeah, there was something that happened that made it otherwise not the case. But, like, it's like as if Kodansha just wants to, like, maximize profit, whereas Viz and Shueisha realized, oh, we need to just actively get this stuff out there so that at least we have more people legally reading this stuff.
Engagement.
Yeah.
Oh, remember, and I think you know where we had a version of that discussion last
Yeah,
night.
this app is bullshit. Not
Well,
I'm not gonna, like, I don't want to participate in that system. Like, I've said that before too.
well, you
I
don't have to, well, right now that's not a
We're
worry
seeing
because it's
so
not even in
many
Canada.
apps
Once
like
again,
this
just
before,
to
right?
underscore
Yeah.
that point.
I don't want to do it. I'll just, if that means I never read Capita, so be it. Like,
Then maybe don't worry.
yeah, it's just,
So-
it just sucks because I always hate when my friends just freely pirate everything, like with
But-
impunity,
But
especially when free options are available and they're caught up.
there's a but coming.
And it's just like, I don't know. It's just very frustrating. it's not hard. Just make stuff available. They don't even make the latest chapter free.
Okay.
And that's a
No,
common
no,
thing
and
with
that's a
some of
common-
those
I was about
compares
to
that
say,
are similar
okay, well,
models, which is hilarious.
If you want to, okay.
Like Comic-Key, the most
Anyway.
recent chapter is free, right? And they
Have
have
you
a
taken
similar
it?
coin
Yeah.
model.
Are you all right?
What? Yeah, I am fine.
Have
Fucking
we hit 3
Kodansha.
hours yet?
Do we have
we're
good
getting there.
anime news maybe from today?
No, I
Mike?
think we've talked about enough already.
I can only imagine some of the staff at Kodansha USA kind of just like sighing at what's going on.
like you right now.
yeah.
Okay. But, there's a final thought
Come
for
on, Kodansha.
Yeah, but there's a final thought.
I was thinking the final thought because remember we had talked about the
One final
anime
thought.
I had got you into. Remember through Netflix.
Oh, okay,
Another
so
one
just
escaped
last,
the jail
yeah,
today,
it was,
and it was Great Pretender,
and that's been picked up for-
supposedly
so we- on
it's
the
been
topic of
picked up for
physical
physical
release.
release. And it was picked up by Anime Limited, so hopefully they'll get it out later this year and next year, and not just in the UK and Ireland, but in the US and Canada, which is great to hear. So,
It's,
and they confirmed yes, Freddie Mercury is there, and yes, the original dub from Netflix is there,
And,
so it'll all be there.
And
in a
we were
nice
talking,
package.
it's always a recommendation. I will always recommend that one. Especially if you like those caper movies. You like the Gentleman Thief concepts.
And it's nice to see an original anime out there, and maybe some people will support it, right?
Maybe. There's always Netflix, of course. But, it's getting a little late, so I don't know. It was just one of those nights. I guess it was just nice to enjoy it.
So
right?
did we meet the quota for May, or did these count?
That was that was last night. We met quota. We exceeded it tonight.
Well, we exceeded it with the length of the episode.
Yeah,
Right?
that too.
That's what took us over the hump.
As soon as we hit record, we exceeded.
So, how
it.
many stars do you think Kevin's going to tell the audience we should give this episode?
Well, let me finish up my thought.
5.5.
Let me finish my thought, and then we'll call it a night. Okay. But if I have one final thing to add, and I'll always say make a final insult every time we do it here. So there was 2 different but related things that caught my attention during the Nomanoichi last night, and
Well, yeah, we didn't even talk about that.
well, we'll
in
talk
a
about
way.
that
Well,
next month.
yeah.
Right? But there are 2 things that caught my attention last night, and I think at this point they're going to be my single most lasting, reflective impression from Anime North this year.
Okay.
The first was a couple who had brought their kids along. Actually, I think it was 3 kids, with one of them being pushed in a stroller. That in itself is nothing new, I think, these days. But both of the parents were dressed up as Ash from Pokemon. That drew my attention away from the kids enough that I don't remember if any of those 3 were dressed up themselves.
I saw little Anya at Nomanoichi.
I saw a Nezuko earlier today.
Oh.
And a guy carrying her in the box. It was great.
Oh my
great.
gosh.
That's a strong guy. Second impression was when I went to pick up a reserved item for a friend. When I got there, I was greeted by a guy who didn't look that much older than me, which is to say maybe 5 or 10 years older. After giving the particulars of my friend's reservation, including a password, which is the name of a popular clothing store, the man actually fumbled for a few minutes before finding the bag, which actually had the name of the store on it. It was a bag from said store.
Oh. Okay.
He gave it to me apologizing, saying this was actually his daughter's table, and she was just off to get some reservations of her own.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe that's where I am now. I think what's become unique in terms of our fandom in recent years, especially in North America, is that events like conventions have increasingly not just become a shared experience, but in many ways family ones as well. Maybe we can be cynical as to this being an effect of the lost generation concepts that we've heard about in the past, James. That's sometimes talked about, where an argument has been made about younger generations not fully growing up. For me, I tend to think it's a little more positive and say that nothing ever really does stand still. And what's become in recent years is a means by which the younger generations have adapted to the shifts presented by the present, maybe looking to make their own fantasy factories as a means to cope, manage, flourish, and ultimately show the ropes to the next generation that they're making now. I know we can debate how we ultimately got to this lost generation concept, but ultimately it would be a waste of energy if the purpose was just to point fingers and only accuse people of failing others. Maybe it's just interesting just to see the trajectory and the history of how the timeline has gone, and just take lessons from that moving forward. So having said all of this, I wonder if you'd see a scene like this play out at a Comiket in Japan. It's a reminder that fandom has increasingly become a family thing, or at least it's evolved in many different ways. And it's another reminder that I've become old.
I saw something very similar when I went to go to my Mamamoo concert.
What was that?
I saw a family of 4 attend. The kids, I think, were like 2 and 4.
Did they have earplugs or anything like that?
I would hope so. This was outside the venue. I would hope so, though. I remember also seeing a young boy that was 10. It was a black boy and his dad going to go see the concert, too.
It's a shared experience.
Yeah. I regret not asking them which one was the bigger fan.
Not only would you not see that at Comiket, you wouldn't see that at IFF.
We're gonna talk about that soon enough, I'm sure. But let's finish up Anime North and finish up day 2. That's all we have for this evening. As always, my thanks to Norm and Eileen McEvoy, Chris Nabelsky, and the staff here at Anime North. And facetiously, I'm going to say this again. I hope we pass the audition, and I hope we'll be invited again next year. And if we are, we will be here again without fail. Once again, if you want to contact us, animeroundtable@gmail.com, at animeroundtable, animeroundtable.com. I'll mention the Twitch channel, twitch.tv/animeroundtable, and our YouTube channel.
You just couldn't resist.
If only because maybe an idea for in the near future is at the very least to add audio recordings of the episodes only to populate said YouTube channel. Or give us a follow on the stuff we might find in our archives in case we might be willing to sell them. I was referring to maybe doing whenever I do my locker dives in the future and pull out stuff, and maybe we can talk and
you could just do a live stream of that and put that on YouTube or Twitch.
That would take a long, long time. But at our heart, this show will always be a podcast. Please leave us a review if you can on Apple Podcasts, Google, Stitcher, Spotify, and the like, because good reviews might help us in the algorithm and help shine things on us.
Yeah, that 5-star review would be really great. I won't lie. Like, it's, we were no longer like a podcast that had like as many listeners as we did, if only because of us we didn't have that many podcasts in existence too.
Right.
Back in the day. Now podcasts do make people money. So we never thought this would make money.
It still
as a
doesn't.
platform.
And you know what? It still doesn't.
Well, no, not us, but like it does make money for other people now.
This I got to hear. This episode marks our 3rd recording of the month. There you go, James. Which longs meets our quota of 2, and hopefully we can meet it again next month and maybe even start exceeding it. In any event, give us a subscribe, like, or follow on any of the platforms we're on so you can be notified when we put up something new. Also, if you have a Spotify account, please check out the Anime Roundtable playlist for a list of music based on things we mentioned on this show. The theme song is entitled Fubuki Snowstorm by Pico Misaki. Check out more of her music at picoinfinity.com or on Facebook at picozenmusic. You could have streamed any anime podcast in the world, but you decided to download this one, and we really appreciate it. Thanks for listening. Good night from Anime North in Toronto. Enjoy the final day, and join us again on the other side of it for another edition of the Anime Roundtable.